The wind carried dust across the small frontier town like it always did, restless, relentless, uncaring. Just like the men who lived there, Elias Turner stood outside the general store, boots planted firm in the dirt, hat low over his eyes, 6 feet of hardened rancher, a widower without children. A man who spoke little and worked until his hands bled. The mail-order bride arrangements had drawn half the town to the station that morning. Women stepped down from the train in hopeful dresses and borrowed courage. Most were chosen within minutes. Later. Agreements. Contracts signed. But one woman remained. Clara Whitmore stood at the far end of the platform, clutching a small carpetbag. Her dress was plain. No bright colors, no flirtatious smile. Just quiet, watchful blue eyes and shoulders that seemed accustomed to disappointment. She's too thin. Looks sickly, probably trouble. The whispers weren't gentle. Clara heard every word. Elias had not planned on taking a bride. He had signed up out of practicality. A ranch that size needed 2 sets of hands. Nothing more. He studied the remaining woman. She did not beg. She did not cry. She simply stood there as though expecting rejection. Something in that steadiness unsettled him. The town sheriff cleared his throat. "Whis, she's the last one." Elias stepped forward. "I'll take her." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clara lifted her eyes slowly. Not hopeful, not surprised, just cautious. And in that moment, neither of them knew that the unwanted bride carried more quiet strength than the entire town combined. The wagon wheels rolled over rocky trails as the sun dipped low. Neither spoke. Elias held the reins, his profile carved like stone. Clara sat beside him, hands folded neatly in her lap, studying the horizon instead of her husband. "You can speak," he finally muttered. "I only speak when necessary," she replied softly. He glanced sideways. "Not timid, just measured. Ranch work ain't easy. I didn't come for easy." That answer lingered. When they arrived at the Turner Ranch, Clara stepped down without waiting for assistance. The house was sturdy but weather-beaten. The land stretched endlessly, miles of responsibility. "You rise before dawn," Elias said. "No nonsense. I understand." That night, she unpacked quietly. No complaints about the sparse bedroom, no tears. But when the wind howled against the wooden walls, Elias heard something unexpected. Not crying, praying, soft and steady. It stirred something long asleep inside him. 3 days later, a storm rolled in, violent and sudden. Cattle scattered, fences buckled. Elias barked orders that no one could hear over thunder. When lightning struck near the north pasture, he realized Clara was no longer in the house. Panic flared. He found her in the wind, skirts soaked in mud, holding open a gate and guiding frightened calves through with a calm voice. "Easy now, you'll be safe." The animals responded to her gentleness. By the time the storm passed, losses were minimal. Elias stared at her, soaked, exhausted, trembling slightly but standing firm. "You could have stayed inside," he said gruffly. "You needed help, no accusation, no pride, just truth." That was the moment he began to realize he hadn't brought weakness home. He'd brought courage wrapped in quiet. The town didn't approve. Women whispered that Clara must have tricked Elias. Men chuckled that Turner had softened. Clara felt it when she visited the store. The stares, the measured politeness. But she responded with warmth. When Mrs. Donnelly's child fell sick, Clara arrived with herbal remedies and stayed through the night. "You've done this before." Mrs. Donnelly asked weakly. "My mother was ill most of my life," Clara replied. "I learned." Word spread. Not about her beauty, about her usefulness, about her kindness. And slowly, the town's tone shifted. Elias watched it happen quietly. One evening, Elias found Clara mending an old shirt of his. "You were unwanted before me?" he asked. She paused, then nodded. "My father lost everything in gambling. We became burdens. When he passed, no one wished to keep another mouth to feed. And the marriage posting. It was survival." The honesty between them was raw. You regret it? He asked. She finally met his eyes fully. No. The single word carried weight far beyond romance. Elias felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. Responsibility had turned into protection. Protection was becoming something deeper. Winter struck early. Supplies ran low. Snow trapped cattle high in the hills. Elias prepared to ride alone through dangerous terrain. Clara stopped him. You're exhausted. Take the shorter pass? That pass floods. I checked the snow patterns yesterday. It'll hold. He hesitated. He trusted no one's judgment. Except hers had proven right every time. The shorter pass saved 2 full days. Saved the herd. Saved Elias from collapse. When he returned, frost-bitten but alive, Clara held his hands to warm them. You always watch the land like it speaks to you, he said quietly. It does, she replied. You just have to listen gently, and Elias began to understand. Gentleness was not weakness. It was wisdom. A wealthy cattle baron arrived with papers claiming rights to Turner's northern grazing grounds. Intimidation, legal tricks, threats. Elias prepared for violence. Clara asked to see the documents. She studied them carefully. There's a flaw, she said softly. The survey lines were altered. Elias frowned. She traced the markings with steady fingers. He's counting on no one noticing. Words spread fast when Clara stood beside Elias at the town hearing. Her voice did not shake. She pointed out every inconsistency. The baron left embarrassed. The land remained theirs. The town no longer called her unwanted. They called her wise. That night, Elias stood outside beneath the stars. You changed this place, he admitted when Clara joined him. No, she said gently. We did. He looked at her, really looked. The woman who weathered storms without breaking. The woman no one wanted. The woman he couldn't imagine life without. You ever afraid? He asked. Every day? Then why stand so steady? She reached for his rough hand. Because someone has to believe the trail ahead leads somewhere better. Elias pulled her closer. For the first time since his first wife passed, the ranch felt like home again. Years passed. The ranch prospered. Children's laughter eventually echoed through the fields. Elias was still strong, still commanding, but softer, more patient. The town often said Clara had tamed him. They were wrong. She hadn't tamed the cowboy. She had shown him that strength did not mean hardness. That storms could be faced without shouting. That love could be quiet and enduring. On a golden evening, as cattle grazed peacefully, Elias wrapped an arm around Clara and whispered, You were never unwanted. She smiled up at him. I was just waiting for the right trail. And together they walked forward, 2 souls who had discovered that even the toughest trails could be softened. When walked side by side,